for joining us today. My name is Austin Bram. I am the AI evangelist here at EverWorker, which, as you've probably been seeing us posting about like crazy, is that previously we were called Integral, and now we have rebranded to EverWorker. And today I have the absolute privilege of interviewing my friend and also our head of education here at EverWorker to kind of introduce the EverWorker Academy. So Doug, thank you very much for joining us today. Before we get into the fun stuff with Doug, I would like to kind of show you all a quick presentation about kind of setting the stage basically behind all of this. So as we get into this, let's kind of go over the industry, the market, whatever you want to call it as a whole. So I think this is quite obvious for everybody. AI is dramatically transforming the way that all of us do work. Whether we like it or not, it's here, it's out of the bag, and it's for the most part disrupting everything that we're doing. So there is an estimated 300 million US and European jobs that could be lost or degraded due to AI, as well as there's 2/3 of our jobs that could be automated by AI agents, and about 1/4 of our jobs could be actually like replaced by AI workers or AI agents, whatever you want to call them. Now, of course, look, this is not to scare you. This is not to make you resent AI or anything, because like I said, the proverbial genie is out of the bottle here, and it's not going back in the bottle without, let's say, an act of God. So what's super important, and it pretty much the main point of today, and honestly, if you follow Doug or I, this is what we're talking about all the time, is education and AI. That's what this is about, is for you to prepare yourself, to kind of future-proof yourself, because AI is only going to get better from here. So now basically the need is clear. Most business leaders, most people understand that AI is here and that it's important, but honestly, the path is not clear. It's not really understood how to go about this transformation, because honestly, a lot of specialized skills are required. There's whole, college degrees, master's degrees, PhDs on computer science, on AI engineering, which is obviously going to take years and years. The cost is quite complex, and there's a really hard infrastructure of things you have to learn. And basically, it's unclear where best to use AI in general. There's just a lot of ambiguity in the space because it's being written right in front of your eyes. So when it comes down to this, honestly, when you think about, like, for me, when I was in, the corporate world, everyone's always talking about, we need AI pilots, we need to start doing this. And oftentimes many businesses are getting caught in what's called pilot purgatory. You're trying these different things with AI, you're trying these pilots that just aren't taking off at all, or they're actually failing. And a lot of that goes into these reasons why the specialized skills are complex, hard infrastructure, costly, all the above. So when it comes down to this, we know that AI agent adoption is happening quickly. So according to Deloitte, 25% of enterprises using Gen AI right now will deploy AI agents in some capacity this year. And, some are already doing it. Like Deloitte is already doing that. OpenAI is already doing that. A lot of these companies, Google especially, they're already doing this. And it's going to go up to 50% by 2027. And then obviously you can see how it's just going to continue to go up from there. So that basically begs the question, why is this important to start now? Because as you can see, this is only going to get more and more important, and it's going to be used more and more. Like by 2028, 33% of enterprise software applications will include agentic AI capabilities. So it being 2025 right now, and let's say, AI agents for the most part have only been talked about the last year, maybe. And then before that was all theoretical, conceptual ideas of what the future will look like with AI. So, like I said, this is being written right now where you have the opportunity to start learning the skills behind this amazing technology, which as we'll kind of go into, especially with Doug. So there's nothing more important than starting right now. So this kind of gets to the idea of the evolution of AI workers. So it all starts with AI chat assistants. We're actually probably all used to that by now, right? ChatGPT came out 3 years ago, basically, and that changed everything with us. Chat assistants were around before that, but that kind of took it off, and we're all used to that now. Where a lot of enterprises, especially in my past roles, and just people I talk to all the time, I get texts and they're like, Austin, guess what? We have a chat assistant at work now. And they're super stoked and it's awesome, which is, hey, it's great, but that's 3 years behind. And now, so it kind of begs the question of, yes, this is where we start off, but it gets more complex, which is where we get AI agents, which ultimately actually kind of is the culmination of what AI is meant to do, because you can really look, I don't want to get into any arguments here. When people start talking about agentic AI or AI agents, there's no clear definition that any group, any people that are all agreement on this is what it is. So for the most part, let's just skip past all the underlying fluff. What is it? It's basically like a chat plus tools to do something for you. It'll actually do work for you, basically. And that is a very important and very powerful thing that's come up. But what we at EverWorker are seeing here is that there's actually another layer up, which is going to be an AI worker, which is basically the culmination of AI chat assistants and AI agents mixed with AI workflows to do full work for you, not just tasks, work. So that is the importance behind AI workers. They're highly personalized, complex workflows and deliverables that can both simulate your work and the work of, let's say, your business. So now when we come on to, this is just maybe a slightly deeper look here, just so conceptually you can see what it is. It is your instructions, which would basically be a chat, system prompt, maybe a system prompt template, another template that you're following, which Doug likes to teach about as well, and you find in our course. But then also the knowledge. The big thing is the knowledge, especially when it comes to enterprises, is basically, we've all heard of RAG probably at this point, is the underlying knowledge of your business as well as the market as a whole. So maybe like a Google search, as well as on top of your proprietary knowledge. It has access in a secure environment to that, which then gives it to an LLM to then teach and actually give it the knowledge that you want to do the skills that you want. So Doug and I work together. I'm saying, you know what? I want to be able to interact with Doug, which it knows based off of the knowledge. We're at the same company, and it can interact with, let's say, our internal Slack, our internal OneDrive, whatever it may be, to actually do the work for you. So that's just to kind of give you some underlying context of what an AI worker might look like. But that kind of leads to the next question of, if there's workers, what is the AI workforce? So basically, it's an entire ecosystem of AI assistants, AI agents, and AI workers mixed together to create entire teams, entire workforces. So here's some examples for us here. And I'm not going to, obviously, don't go too deep into reading this. This is just to show for examples. Finance and accounting, entire departments. There are some AI workers that you could build: invoice acceptance, validation, employee expense validation. And the more, for example, and then the more you add on there, you have an AI worker over here, AI worker over here, over here. Within each AI worker is maybe a few AI assistants that make up that AI worker, which is really a complex system of AI models for the most part to create a whole workforce, in this case, around finance and accounting. You can do the same thing with operations, combining inventory management, product workflow optimization, adding on all these ideas to make a workforce. sales and marketing. These are just some examples. Once again, if you don't work in any of these, it can obviously apply to you as well. I just don't want to show you a million different slides just talking about this. So you can extrapolate this idea of, okay, starting with assistant, ending at AI workers to make this workforce. I can kind of understand what that would look like in my business or in my work. But now we get to the point of, why EverWorker? What is EverWorker? All of that. And basically, when we talk about EverWorker, it is the easiest and fastest way to employ AI workers into your business. Because we've seen what these different steps would look like between assistant and worker. We all know what an assistant is, ChatGPT. We all know what maybe an agent would look like with like Manus AI, things like that. But we don't necessarily either know how to implement that into our own business effectively, or we don't really know how to do it in the first place. So the big thing here is that there is no engineering required. So, I mean, like we like to talk about this all the time. Doug and I talk about this all the time. Sure, we might know how to code. We might know how to do some of these things, but you don't need to know how to code. There's no engineering actually required to use the system in the first place. And it is AI that is tailored to your business, like I showed through that knowledge, the knowledge that you can give these AI workers. And then you have the expertise that is built in, which would be us. People that can teach you how to do this effectively. Like I've been saying this whole entire time, we're kind of writing this right now. We're writing history right now by doing this. We can help you to actually employ these AI workers and build an AI workforce through our internal systems and our internal teams. So when it comes down to, how is this different for my company? When you think about your company and you want to start building some AI infrastructure, you want to start building AI and systems into your company, you're going to be competing when trying to get maybe the legacy way, even though it's only pretty brand new. You're going to be competing with the likes of Meta, Google, OpenAI, Facebook, all these other companies that are employing and taking all of the major AI engineers in the system, basically in the whole market, and bringing them to their teams. So this allows you to not need to rely on the super sophisticated AI engineering because it's built in. And you don't need to understand vector databases, and understand knowledge graphs. Because usually when you have, a very complex system, you'll have to either go to school to learn it, or if you're like me, who's obsessed with YouTube, you're going on to YouTube and you're watching hundreds of hours. How do I build an AI agent that does X, Y, or Z? Well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I got to watch this other video to find out bits and pieces. You're spending so much time on just figuring out how to work this in the first place. Whereas EverWorker, just like how we've all, seen even since elementary school, like when we were kids, 90% of the iceberg is below the surface. The top 10% is what you see. We take care of all the complexity that's below the surface. And all that you have to worry about is what you see at the top, these beautiful AI workers that you don't have to actually see what's going on under the hood. Of course you can if you like, but we take care of all that complexity for you so that you can see the end result, which is AI workers. Now, this is where I get super excited when it comes to this whole topic. With EverWorker, everyone can be an AI leader so let's see. In previous roles that I've had, I have been like what we call an AI curious person for all this time. Every business has those AI curious people, AI curious rock stars, honestly, that are trying to implement and bring AI systems into the company that you're working with. And this, for the most part, they've been constrained by the different tools that they've been allowed to use because, some are vetted, you can't trust these systems, or obviously they just don't have access, even if they can use them, they don't have access to your personal information, like the company-wide information, especially in a way that you can trust. Whereas this is the first time that every business person is going to be empowered to create highly sophisticated, highly complex agentic AI systems. that they can delegate, they can hand off different work to, because they are the experts on their role. That's why they're there. That's why you're there. So instead of needing to be a coder to actually, go into Coursera or go into Windsurf and try to vibe code your way to this sophisticated AI agent, built in, you're the leader here. You can build a workflow. You can build kind of the actual system that you want. Whereas every member of the team can now start to employ these systems and increase their own capacity, increase their own capability to make it possible to become AI native. And especially for a company, for, a lot of my YouTube videos with our CEO, Peter Brigenti, have been around, how do I become an AI first company? This is a perfect example. Whereas everyone in your company, not just the AI engineers, not just the IT team, you in HR, you in sales, you in learning and development, you are an AI leader now through EverWorker. So that always excites me because that's what I always wanted for myself. If you can delegate a task, you can create an AI worker. You can see that we can connect to all of the major systems down below. We have an easy drag and drop interface that everyone can use, and it can enable the fastest time to market and the highest ROI that you'll find, honestly. So next would be, what is our EverWorker platform? We won't spend too much time here. I know there's lots of words. We have 4 main parts as of right now. We have the EverWorker Canvas, which is, if you've seen our Integral AI Studio from the past, very similar drag and drop system. You can connect different nodes, different LLMs, different workflows, whereas you are in control of building that workflow. Then we have the EverWorker AI Wizard, which is basically an EverWorker to help you build EverWorkers. So you tell it your ideas, and it's going to help you actually build that into production because it knows our systems and knows everything about it, and it can help you build that. Then we have kind of the underlying huge portion here, which is the EverWorker Universal Connector. This is what allows us to connect to any system that has an API, which for the most part, every system has an API. No need for MCP, no need for A2A. Everything is built into our system to connect agents to other agents, to connect to APIs, all through our universal connector. Now, if you want to learn more about a lot of these things, I did just post a YouTube video interviewing our Chief Product Officer, Anton Antich, about a lot of this as well. So shameless plug, go see that on our YouTube channel. And then last would be our EverWorker Knowledge Engine, which is basically that underlying engine that allows these AI workers to know about your internal documents, your internal processes, your different, like your different actual things to connect to. All of these work together to build the EverWorker platform. And then with this, we kind of have the idea of our packages and what is offered as our services as EverWorker. So we have first our discovery workshop, whereas if you want, you're like, okay, I understand a lot of this, Austin, but like it still goes right over my head. You can have us come in to do a discovery workshop with you to kind of figure out where in my business would this be most useful? Whereas we can help you start to ideate on these things and actually create these POCs with you so that you're basically, we're hand-holding you the whole way through so that you do become AI native and you start to understand these processes and these workflows yourself so you can start building these as you go. Then we have just straight up AI worker creation. You're like, sounds great. We want you to do everything for us. We want you to just create this, give it to us. We have that as an option for you as well, where we have a team of just absolute AI rock stars that are building AI workers day in and day out. You give us an idea, like a lot of the examples you'll see is like, oh man, we had this one chatbot. We had a 6-month window to, 6-month sprint to try to build this chatbot. Whereas we're seeing things done much faster in hours and days for these super sophisticated systems right off the bat through working with us and our AI engineers. And then lastly, we have, which Doug and I might get into after this, is some on-site training. As we go into the EverWorker Academy, you have the idea of actually bringing us to you or doing it online for some in-person or live virtual training to teach you all about the underlying systems that build this so that you can start to understand more about AI systems, and become more AI native yourself. So with all this in mind, it comes down to the point where your next employee of the month will more than likely be an AI worker, because they become so pivotal to your work that you're like, how did I ever do this by myself? Because let's be honest here, most people are used to the idea of understaffed, underpaid work, whereas you're trying to do more with less resources, with less time, with less finances, less, lots of less going on, when you could be doing more with more, when you're taking in and employing these AI workers. So with all that said, that kind of paints the picture behind the importance of a little bit behind the importance of AI education, as well as the importance of AI workers. How does this work? And you have the underlying knowledge now to say, yeah, I get it. I get the whole infrastructure here. Whereas now we can kind of get into things with Doug. So let me bring in Doug here. Can you please tell us what is EverWorker Academy?
Yes, sure thing. So, well, I'll take this, I'll talk about something else before I talk about Academy for like 30 seconds. And that is, just training in general, right? As I think everybody out there has been, has gone through some form of training, even if it was homeschooled. You've learned a bunch of skills in your life, and somehow you've had mentors, you've had teachers, you've had, guides, whatever. And so in that world of training, which I've been living in for like 25 years, I started this back in the late 90s. It's classically there had been like, what we would call instructor-led training. Meaning there's like a live person synchronously delivering training. Back in, the aughts, that would have been in a physical classroom. There would be an actual space that we would be in. Now that still happens today. There's a lot of that happening. We have that happening here. People love to be in the same room. Previous company I was with, Cockroach, just did it with a unnamed, did a lot of deliveries at an unnamed, large financial institution, because people want to be in the room. There's a lot of synergy and amazing kinds of things that happen when you get people together. Obviously, there's an incredible fidelity or quality to that kind of training. But then you can also do this instructor-led training like this online, which is still amazing because you have a real live person you can ask questions of. And that's amazing. But often that kind of training, the way I think of it is, it's very much like, number one, it's like big bang training. It's fire hose training. It's like we all come together for hours and we sit there and grind through a whole bunch of material. And it can be incredibly effective, as I just described, especially if you have to start something the next week. You have to get on board. You have to bring a whole team into that kind of position. What we did with EverWorker Academy is we're using kind of what I call sort of the Coursera approach to training. I think a lot of us are familiar with Coursera, Udemy, things like that, which is self-paced online training. So we stood up, you helped, which was amazing. Thank you so much. Over the last, 6 to 8 weeks, it's been pretty intense. We stood up from scratch, from nothing, a whole portal that's part of EverWorker.ai. It's EverWorker Academy, where we have now deployed our first course called AI Fundamentals for Business Professionals. And we can talk about, who those business professionals are in just a few minutes. The point of that course is to give people a self-paced way to make their way through learning this new kind of space. And I think you and I, we've had little bits of conversations offline a little bit about that. I mean, the world is changing incredibly fast right now. Incredibly fast. I was at a company back in 2015 called Lightbend. They're called Aka now, but I started doing natural language processing and processing stuff back then in 2015, and it was difficult. It was painful. You had everything was hand coded. It was crazy. And I kind of left the world of AI back then. And we were doing really cool things. The company left that world. But then a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, when ChatGPT, whatever it was, whatever version that was, when it first came out and the big bang occurred. And at that moment, it was like, whoa, okay, I've been hanging around, waiting to see where this all was going to go, but the chatbot interfaces, and when OpenAI came out with that, it kind of changed everything. And it took everything that was sort of percolating along in that world, and it just gave it the exponential curve that we're all in the middle of right now. And, I think a lot of us had an existential moment. 2.5 years ago, I went, okay, Doug, you're in training. What does this mean? I mean, you can look forward and go, we're going to have AI mentors. We're going to have AI teachers. We're going to have all this stuff starts to radically change. Who am I in this world? And I think that's something that we're all grappling with right now, is trying to figure out, who am I? And now I'm fortunate enough to have some technical chops. I've been coding since the 90s. I mean, I started out with the new revolutionary programming language, Java, back in the end of the 90s, in the early days of Java. And I taught that for 15 years, with IBM. And I have a lot of skills, Scala, functional programming, all that kind of stuff. And so when this happened a couple of years ago, I started to think about, what do I need to do? And I started with some of my team members at the time. We started to do, POCs, the kind of thing that a lot of companies are doing now, trying to figure stuff out. But we were coding, and we were building, agents, assistants, these different forms of AIs, using these large language models that the big companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and so on are building. We started to code against their software development sort of kits, right? And hand rolling it. It would take us months to build out stuff. And I started doing that about a year ago with my team, after we've been working with the chatbots and doing that kind of transactional. So we started to build applications up. And the thing about that I felt fortunate to have was those programming skills, because it allowed me to start understanding this world that was impacting all of us. I have had, as a kind of it's like I have a personal mission around training that comes out of really who I was as a kid. I mean, I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, in the boonies of North America. And I was a working class kid. I never thought I'd go to university. And I had a couple of teachers in high school that they encouraged me to go to university. And so education made a huge impact on me. And my mission in the world, which is very personal to me, is that I see technology training as a way to close the gap between what I call the tech have-nots and the tech haves. It's like, how do you do it? You have to learn, and you have to, have somebody around you or some group around you that can help you figure out a journey or a path to learn. And what's going on right now is so fast. It's like taking the Industrial Revolution and scrunching it up into 10 years, that the biggest challenge I think all of us have personally is like, how do I understand? How do I develop? Where do I go to develop skills? What am I doing in this space? Because I know my life, my job is going to be impacted in some way. And skills and knowledge and abilities in AI allow you as an individual to navigate, to have some impact on what that looks like. And so that's the underlying mission of Academy, right? That's the reason why I came to EverWorker. It's because the tool itself, at the time we called it Integral AI Studio a few months ago when I joined, but it democratizes the ability to make AI agentic systems. You don't have to code. And I code, I feel fortunate, but I have tons of colleagues and friends who do not. What are they left with?
Yeah.
And they're left with knowing how the business runs. They know how their tasks, their workflows run, but they didn't have the ability, unless they learned how to code or start vibe coding their way through, which is cool, but still, it's, if you don't know how to code, it's hard to know if you're going down the right path.
Yep.
With vibe coding, is that they were kind of left in a gap. What do they do? The world is just impacting them without them having an opportunity to be able to sort of shape their own destinies, their own futures within this rapidly changing world. That's the power of what I saw Integral Studio and now EverWorker Canvas providing is a path, a way for people to start learning about these things and to start actually shaping their own agentic flows. So that's why I joined, and underlying that, I joined with the mission of like, how do I make this world accessible? How do I make it understandable? How do I make it something that people can take action on, that they can actually do something in their own workplace. And they can make change.
Sure.
Long-winded answer, but that's kind of where it came from.
From now, I would like to, to dive in. Can you tell us a little bit more about, the course and your vision behind it?
I'll share my screen. Yeah, you can see that there. I'm going to actually just drag something in front of that for a moment, which is I just want to underline what we were just talking about is like, who is this course for? And who is like really EverWorker for? And this is, in the course, but I just want to call it out to people. If you see yourself in one of these two different sort of groups, that's sort of really what we're targeting both at EverWorker Academy and to a large degree at EverWorker itself. It's really going after business professionals that are not coders. They may have dabbled, maybe interested in a bit of it, but their job role is not about coding. They're not an engineer. They're not a developer. They may be in some kind of system ops role. That's, if you look at the top group right here, systems ops specialists, maybe you're a technical product manager, that kind of thing. You're doing some type of technical work. You may be administering Salesforce and, doing report generation, HubSpot, that type of thing. Maybe you're doing some technical work with the engineering team as a product manager to build out features and functionality in your product. You're definitely someone that we are trying to reach. And the secondary group down here would be more of what we call sort of the front line. If you think about that as somebody who actually works in HR and is like perhaps a recruiter, and their job is to recruit. How does AI impact what they do as a recruiter? They're not engaged in some sort of HR systems operations, but they're actually doing the work of what HR needs to have done. And so you're sort of the core subject matter expert in your company on what it means to be a recruiter. And you have all kinds of knowledge about a whole bunch of tasks and workflows, things that you do that are potentially candidates for to come in and help and augment those functions and tasks. So these are the two core groups that we're trying to reach with Academy. We also, I think, legit. I mean, I've been a coder for 25 years. I was amazed when I jumped over here and started to, Peter, our CEO, approached me a few months back and said, "Hey, Doug, I'm doing this thing. You're interested?" And I looked at it and was like, "Oh, that is amazing." Because I had been coding, as I mentioned, with some members of my team. We've been coding agentic, the early forms of AI agents last year. And it took us sort of months to build out our first POC. And when I came over here and I looked at this, it was like, oh my God, the stuff that we had done, we could probably do in days or a week, what it took us a month or two to do my previous job. So that was super exciting. And what it told me is that even if you're a coder, I think you want to look at these, what they call no code agentic platforms. I think we've got the best one out there because it will allow you to build stuff at such a rapid pace compared to hand coding and hand rolling. That's the audience that we're going after. Now, what I'm going to do is just move that out of the way and just show you. This is after you register. It's really simple to register. There'll be registration links somewhere around here. I'm sure Austin will post up for EverWorker Academy. Once you register, again, we're just starting it this week. So we've got one course. This is a 2-hour course here. I mentioned AI fundamentals for business professionals is going after that group. And if I click on that, you're automatically enrolled once you register for the platform for EverWorker Academy. And then the course is here and you can just start now and it takes you through it. I won't go through the course. I'll allow you to do that. I'll just sort of say down below, you've got, a workup on what the objectives are, the skills. You can take a look at here, all the different things that we're trying to cover. And this is really starting from sort of, first base, square one, whatever the analogy is that you have, is I really tried to build this material to take you from absolute beginner, no jargon. Let's define everything very clearly. Once we define terms, we can use those terms to build on and increase the level of knowledge about a certain topic area. That's the approach in this course. It's just starting from square one or first base or whatever and working our way up to building essentially a fairly complex chatbot. When I say complex, this is like a chatbot that has an ability to know an internal company's security policies. And it allows you to ask questions of this chatbot based on the internal company's security policies, which are not public, and have those answers be generated and propagated out in email to employees. So you actually kind of go through the process of, we show you how to build something like that through the course. So it's learning a bunch of concepts. It's learning how this world works at the foundational level. And it's also showing how to make or create these types of foundational capabilities. We don't have the exercises in there yet. We're working on those. We'll get those posted up very soon. There are placeholders in there, but the material walks you through essentially what will happen in the exercises. So that's quick and dirty. That's an overview of the course. I just want to point out, you'll see sometimes in there are quizzes. And right here, there's a few quizzes. These quizzes are legit. They're not like professional certification stuff, but they're legit. And we put those in there because at the end of it, if you can see down here, we've got a course completion certificate. This is not professional certification that some of us will, you go and you spend 90 minutes in a proctored online exam environment. That's not what this is. This is like, we ask you some questions that demonstrate your skills. And at the end of this, you've got some chops if you can answer answer the questions and pass the quizzes. And we we give you a unique certification, a course completion certification that you can turn around and say, hey, I got some skills. I've got some skills. And congrats to you. I heard or saw you, you did yours. Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Here it is.
Brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's the cert. I call that out because I want people to know at the very end, like, you should grab your certification. And at the end, we baked into the course the ability for you, like with a click, to be able to post it on LinkedIn. I did mine yesterday when we released. I wrote the quizzes, but I had a bit of an in, let's say, with the instructor. But you can post it up on LinkedIn. You can dump these on other social media, whatever. I think it's legit to go out there as a business professional and say, hey, I've got some chops. And what we're going to do is, as I mentioned, we're going to be building out. This is the first course of many, and it's the foundational course. We're going to have like intermediate, advanced, and we'll be doing that over the next few months. And we'll be doing course completion certificates for those. But then at the end, we're going to roll that up into a actual, a certification exam for those who are really serious about this. And that will give you some legit creds, personally within your own workplace, or if you're out there, wanting to jump to some cool new gig, new job or whatever. I think there's a gap right now in that space, in the AI world for business professionals. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening around, engineers and things like that, certification, but not so much for business professionals. So that's it.
I mean, like that, I feel like that's something that so I have been more or less like obsessed with getting as many AI certifications and courses as I can, because the technology changes so fast, especially now. Like when you look at the landscape of certifications, and courses that will give you a certificate at the end, and you look at agentic AI, AI agents, and especially AI workers, what there might be like one or two, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing like ours that goes into, especially we talk about making it like how EverWorker is the easiest and fastest way for people to build sophisticated AI workers. Is like, normally you'd see like a Google course or something, or even like a Coursera course. And they're like, hey, in order to take this course, you have to be a PhD in AI engineering. You got to know how to code.
Code in Python.
Yeah.
That's usually the thing. So right out the door, it's like, what are your Python chops? And it's like,
exactly.
And that's legit. I mean, I've been a coder for a couple of decades. It's legit. I mean, because we all sit on top of what coders have done.
Yep.
But the question is, we don't all have to be coders.
Exactly.
And we aren't all coders.
Yep. No, exactly. And this is like, this fully democratizes the idea of, especially being an AI leader in the space. In this case, where like it blends the technical and the non-technical in a beautiful way, that we are the first course, and especially the first certificate that I have seen that does this. So another example of like, hey, I got this. Like, you better believe you're going to be seeing this on LinkedIn right after this for everyone to see. And I would encourage all of you to do the same. Like, go onto the course. You can register it. You can register right here. Let me pull up the banner again for everybody at
Oh, cool.
at workeracademy.ai. Boom, take the course, throw it onto LinkedIn with us and be like, Austin, Doug, here I am with you, showing that you are a leader in the AI space with the first certificate for AI workers, basically that you're going to find. So,
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I tried to, there was this balance in the course of how much do we go down into the underlying technology, cause how much is just right, like the Goldilocks principle of, if I'm a business professional, I don't need to, I don't need to understand the inner workings of how I might code like an API call, like one software system calling to another software system, or using something like model context protocol. Like I don't need to do that as a business professional. That's not my job or role. Now, if I'm a coder, if I'm an engineer, yeah, that's legit. That is your job. But what we did here at EverWorker Academy, and also with the tool itself, is we tried to abstract up a level. We tried to go like, what happens if you don't know how to code? You have to build a whole bunch of functionality, a whole bunch of tools, capabilities that actually down below are coded, but up here, they're through UIs, visual diagrams, ability to connect, to visualize, to work in a way that is actually building some serious AI agent systems, but not having to wire them up through code. And it's still the same stuff, but that's not your skills. And so that's the delicate balance, say, in the course that we're trying to achieve. And I would love people like ping me, LinkedIn, ping me through the course. There's ways you can contact us through EverWorker Academy. Let us know if we're getting that right. Because, as Austin said, this is changing so fast. We are literally like pioneering something here. And when we pioneer, sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. Let us know, because ultimately we want it to be valuable to you. I mean, I will go so far as to say, and I know people say, even if you do not use EverWorker, you should learn the skills that are in this course. That is our gift to the community, the business professional community, is like, go through there, just learn it. You want to be able to learn as much as you can about the space, because it is impacting us all. And 12 months from now, it's going to be even more intense. Empower yourself, learn the concepts, learn some of the chops and the skills. It will only make you able to navigate these waters that are going to be bubbly, choppy, swirly for the next few years, so.
Absolutely. I think that's super important for people to recognize the times of which we live in. Things are changing so fast. Like we want to make this better for everybody. And like, it's free. All you have to do is register and then you take the course. That's all it takes. Even like Doug said, even if you don't work with and use the EverWorker platform in and of itself, the knowledge that you learn on just even like agentic AI systems in the first place, it becomes apparent to you that like this is where the future is going. So super important. Thank you for that, Doug. And now basically last thing that I'll say for us here is, as things continue to go on here, especially with, we've already talked about, we've rebranded from Integral to EverWorker this week. Things are going to progressively start to pick up as well. Like Doug said, more courses will be happening. You'll see more and more videos coming out from me interviewing, our CEO, Peter Guigenti. You'll see other interviews with Doug, other interviews with our chief product officer and co-founder, Anton Antich, all in which that you can keep building this underlying knowledge, basically, of, how does Anton does go into like the underlying technology, basically. Whereas then Doug says, okay, well, let me teach you about that technology so you actually understand what Anton's saying. And then Peter comes in and saying, This is how you actually implement this into your business, into your work. So it's all super holistic way of thinking. How can I always say, how can I become an AI first company? Basically, how can I future proof myself? How can I also keep up with the times and with the trends? So with all of that in mind, I will say, go to our website, everworker.ai. You can request the demo. And in this demo, you could even say like, hey, I saw Austin and Doug's live stream. I want that on-site training. Or even you're just like, hey, how do I sign up for this? Like, you have access to us. You can like, you see Doug and I here. You can go on LinkedIn and just message us. You can go into our website. You can try all these things. And just, I will say, continue being curious. The more
Yes.
curious that you can be in this space, especially when it comes to AI education,
Yeah.
that's what I tell everyone. They're like, hey, Austin, how do I get into the AI space? Be curious. You see a new technology, learn it. Learn all about it. Do whatever you can to get your hands on it and just try things out. And that's what we're here for. That's what EverWorker Academy is trying to do for us here. So also, before we go, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us. Follow both Doug and myself on LinkedIn so you can stay up to date on all these things, but also follow us at EverWorker on our LinkedIn page as well to stay up to date on all the stuff and all the cool parts of our platform that are coming out. Whenever Doug comes out with a new course, that'll be on there, and you can just stay up to date on everything that we're doing here. So Doug, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and kind of teaching us and showing us your vision of the future of AI education and the future of EverWorker Academy. And I'll throw one last thing out to you. Is there anything else that you would like to tell everyone before we go?
I think I would just reinforce what you said a minute ago. I think stay curious. It's easy to feel overwhelmed sometimes about how fast the changes are happening. Try to stay curious, and I hope. And part of that feeling of overwhelmed is like, where do you begin? I hope that you feel okay enough to put a little bit of trust in what we're doing with EverWorker Academy. Like I said, we're at its core, we're really trying to put out training that enables people to develop skills that closes the gaps between, the have-nots and the tech haves. And so that's the underlying mission. And I hope that you'll be able to throw your trust our way and allow us to be a bit of a guide through this world. And, yes, I work for EverWorker. I think it's the best platform. It allows me to learn incredibly fast because of what it is doing itself. And so, yeah, I'm coming from that perspective, but really at the core, what I'm trying to do is to say, we all need to learn. So be curious, and join us. We're going to stay curious together, and we're going to pioneer this world together. So
couldn't agree more, Doug. So for everyone that's watching right now and either watching it afterwards, we will continuously have live streams like this. So make sure to keep your eyes on both of our pages as well as the EverWorker page and our YouTube channel. And besides that, that's all we have for you today. Remember, if you're interested in learning more about EverWorker Academy, I'll throw it down here again. Register. It's free. You can do it in a day. It's a great course. Dug through a lot of amazing underlying kind of pieces in there, and post your certificate on LinkedIn like you'll see Doug and I have done. And we look forward to continuing this journey with everybody when it comes to AI education. So with all that said, Doug, thank you so much for today, and I will see you very soon.
Hey, Austin, thanks for having me.